What's going on, everybody? This is Jacob Viral. Today I'm going to be showing you one of the more common traditional ways a lot of people do subwoofer break-in. And in other words, it's not really subwoofer break-in, it's more of a way for you to get your subwoofer to loosen up. Any new viewers, I have a single phi SP412 and a big ratio 4th order. Not the prettiest system, but I'm glad to share some concepts with you guys today. So first thing foremost, if you guys want to know build specs and all, you have to watch my other videos on my channel. So this one's focusing on subwoofer break-in and one of the more common ways to do it. So first things first, on any amp monoblock, you have a subsonic. I'm going to go ahead and turn that all the way to the bottom. You definitely, what I'm going to be showing you'll understand later, but subsonic all the way off. So either off, all the way down, 10 hertz, 20, 25, depending on the amp. I know there's different options, but that's the first step. Second step is to actually make sure you have your volume down lower than needed in order for this to work. Because what happens is, you'll see when I explain it. Anyway, I'm up here in the front of my vehicle. Once again, not the prettiest, of course. So what I'm going to be doing here is getting my head unit on, make sure my bass knob's all the way down to start. So I turn it all the way down to start, turn on my head unit. All right. So I actually use test tone for this. So the way it's going to be breaking in is I have sorry about that. First rule, like I mentioned before, make sure your volume's all the way down. So there you go. All right, so bass knob's all the way off, bass knob volume's down. So what I'm gonna be doing is getting a test tone that's on a lower frequency. So regardless of what your box tuning is, at low volume, you can play down to any frequency range really, and you won't have to worry about unloading issues. You won't really have to worry about bottoming it out. Most subwoofers will play it even if your box is tuned to 40 hertz or if you're free airing. So it's more common to do this with free air. Being in a sealed enclosure with my 4th order box, it's going to be a lot harder for me to break in because I have a cone. I have cone control in the sealed section. So that's actually giving me a little more cone control, cone pressure, not really allowing the subwoofer to move as much, especially at lower volumes. But this concept of this video you guys can use for anything. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go to around a 3rd volume and have my bass knob up on that. Highly recommend, of course, depending on what you do. Some people do it without a box, some people do it in a box. So what you do is you're going to be getting a repeated tone. So I have different tones here. So anywhere from 15 hertz all the way to 32 hertz for the lows. So I'm going to start, I'll just start with a 15 hertz. And the subsonic's off, so it's going to be low volume, of course. I'm not going to go any higher than 30. So my head unit goes up to 56 before it clips at -5. So 30 is right at a little over a third, especially at lower volumes. So, all right, so that's on. All right. So what you want to do here is, depending on what tone you choose or what you prefer, you have a tone and you're going to have it play repeatedly to allow your subwoofer to loosen up, or let's say break in. So let's say the subwoofer's right here in front of me. So what you would do is you have your amp wired to it. It would be wired to your coils. Your subwoofer would be right here, and you'd literally be free airing it. And it would, free air means the subwoofer is going to be moving without it being in an enclosure. That's what free air means. So a lot of people will consider that almost like free air, and especially, let's say your box is tuned to 32 hertz, but you're playing 15 hertz, it's way below tuning, your subwoofer is pretty much free airing in an enclosure. Playing way below tuning, your subwoofer is obscuring a whole lot, especially with the subsonic being off. It's going to really obscure more. But what I need to see is, let's see how it does. So this is a really good example of what I mentioned earlier with subwoofer cone control. Being that the subwoofer's in a sealed enclosure, you're not seeing a lot of flex because I have cone control and it's in a sealed enclosure, so it kind of doesn't allow any airspace to escape. So it's highly recommended to do this free air or in a ported enclosure over a sealed enclosure. So that's one thing that's negative about my setup, is I'm in a sealed enclosure and I'm not going to tear it apart and take it out just to break it in, because I'm personally doing this for a video for guys to learn the concept of free air and break in doing it this way. But let's just assume I have a ported enclosure there. This is a ported enclosure and my subwoofer is mounted right here on the glass. Okay, so now that's I'm free airing it. My subwoofer will be flexing like crazy there. So, all right, so what I'm gonna do, just so you guys can get some sub flex, I'm gonna turn it up real quick. My vehicle's been sitting for a couple days. I haven't really been doing much, so my voltage is not the best right now. But what I'm gonna do is just go to, you know what, let me start it up. All right. So my voltage was 12.4, 12.5, now it's 14.7, perfect. All right, so another quick tip for guys watching, that 2-volt gain will give you a lot more output out of your amp too. So 2 whole volts going up from 12.6 to 14.6, 2 volts, I guarantee would give me at least a couple hundred more watts at lower volume, which affects output as well as break-in. Highly recommend, of course, people can do this on battery power for a while. So what I'm gonna do now is we're gonna see how it does. Anyway, so that's right around probably 2/3 volume as at 15 hertz, but you guys kind of get the concept. So what that does is that's allowing the subwoofer to keep reaching a point where it's loosening that coil, loosening the spiders, loosening the some subwoofer suspension pretty much, and it allows you to play a little lower. It could, how you doing? It could slightly, sorry, my neighbor was driving by. It could slightly drop your FS. You may be a little bit louder too, because it allows your subwoofer to reach X max a lot better, easier, more potential, less power handling to move the subwoofer maybe. And you guys can comment, of course. I'm not the best at this, at knowledge, but I'm glad to share. But that's the concept, subsonic all the way down. And 20, let's go ahead and do a 20 hertz flex. But that's how you would break into subwoofer. A really traditional way a lot of people do it is they'll play for, say, 1, 2, 3 hours, or every 30 minutes they'll start the vehicle up for a few minutes to replenish the battery and do it back, and it'll be free air or in an enclosure, and it's on like half volume or quarter volume, and it's just moving slightly. So you don't ever want to go to an extreme level where you're struggling to move, because you don't want to overheat your coils and put too much power on it. So here's 20 hertz. All right, and that's the video. If you guys have questions, ask. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.